with the portfolio. What am I going to do now? And that's what's going to be driving trading today.
All right, let's get to Scott Garrett, our New Jersey congressman, set to unveil his bill to reform the secondary mortgage market. Before he does, on the floor of Congress, he's here with us now. Joining us first on CNBC, Scott Garrett, chairman of the Capital Markets and Government-Sponsored Enterprises Subcommittee. Congressman, it's good to see you. And
it's good to be with you. Thanks.
It's interesting, depending on which side of the aisle you're on how you view government-sponsored entities. The biggest supporters of government-sponsored entities now they're not even sure what they are. Some of the guys on the other side of the aisle from you, it's like, oh, yeah, I kind of remember those things. But, I mean, not even in Dodd-Frank. And yet these things are still too big to fail. And isn't it 80% of the mortgage market is in the hands of these guys? We're in the same, we haven't fixed anything at all.
No, and you're right. We have not fixed anything at all with regard to this market. 95% of the mortgage market right now is in the hands of the government as opposed to a private.
Yeah, 95. Yeah. Nice.
Right. So, no, we haven't fixed anything. And we were asking Barney Frank, when he was the chairman last session, shouldn't we be looking at what we think is really, if not the root cause of the collapse of the market?
Was he familiar with Fannie and Freddie? Had he heard of those? By now, I don't think he really remembers anything about those.
Oh, I think he does.
I don't recall.
He famously said, let's throw the dice and see what happens. Yeah, that's famous. And he came to the floor last year, gave a 1-hour monologue on the floor, saying that both the GSEs and he was not responsible for what happened back in 2008 and the collapse of these things. So I think he's familiar with the GSEs. He just thinks that we just need to keep on going because in a little while, everyone will forget that they were at the root cause of the problem and the meltdown.
Well, we can't just pull the rug out right now. I mean, even people that want to reform Fannie and Freddie say there's nothing else. What would happen if we did that right now? Is there any way to wean the mortgage market off of it? Really? How?
And that's exactly the right question to ask. That's the question that others have asked as well. What happens when you do get to the point in time when we get back to a free market? How do you wean yourself off of it? And what we said is you need to wind down the GSEs and then to stand up the private market again. And it will take a period of time to do so. No one is suggesting that we just, pull the carpet out. I think you said pull the rug out. No one's saying that we do that today, tomorrow, the next day. We do it over a number of years. And as we do, we need to make sure that the securitization market is there in place, because you need securitization. You can't just put the entire housing market on the balance sheets of the banks, right? So you need securitization to be ticking up again. So the question mark always was, how do you do that? And that's what we'll be rolling out today.
Leisman has pointed out repeatedly that the worst case scenario that some Republicans always used for the eventual losses from Fannie and Freddie, it's nowhere near that still. So it wasn't as bad as all the hype maybe. Did you see today's Wall Street Journal, Scott?
You mean the numbers as far as what's going to be lost?
That Romney says let everything. This is the first strong position he's taken without waffling, and that is to let the foreclosure markets go where they may right now. Let it all get flushed out. Rent the houses, improve the houses, do whatever you need to do, but let the process work so that there's no more false bottoms. But every Democrat or any of his opponents on the Republican side are running ads now saying he just wants to do nothing for homeowners at this point. So they're on the attack.
I can't defend his position except to the state that's saying we do need to find what the appropriate pricing of housing is, and as long as you have a government intervention here, as long as you're propping it up through one mechanism or another, you're going to have a false situation. And bear in mind that even if we were able to, magically, legislatively or otherwise, do away with the GSEs today, tomorrow, or in X number of years, that doesn't mean that the federal government's out of the housing market. You still have, Ginnie Mae out there, FHA out there, the VA out there, the Federal Home Loan Bank, the Federal Reserve out there as the last resort, and you probably, 2, 3, 4 dozen other federal government programs as far as grants and loans and what have you in housing. The federal government is always going to be involved in housing. We just need to make sure we take this one piece of it off the table.
And what are the chances this becomes law?
Well, you know me, I'm always optimistic. So I think at some point in time, this will become law, because it really has to become law. This was a pledge by Republicans that we would end the bailout. Your question as to when, I can't give you that date, though.
All right, Congressman, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. See you later.
Coming up, we've got results from P&G first here on CNBC.